Okay. Well, this is Terri Sloan from Crestview United Methodist Child Development Center. Thank you so much for being with us. And so you're the director here. Tell us why it's so important that we have congregationally affiliated preschools.
Churches have been in the business of education for a long time. I mean, you think about back in the olden days when schools were in churches and, one-room schoolhouse actually was in the church half the time. A lot of churches do education from kindergarten on through high school even. It's only sensible that you would start a little younger now. We have all this space that just sits empty during the week. And it's a good stewardship to use that space. And since it's already outfitted for children for Sunday school, it just makes sense to outfit it a little more and make it into a child care center. The other thing I love is that these days we've got a lot of families who are spiritual. They're not attending church. Children are coming to our programs and they're getting a faith foundation. And while they may never ever go to church on Sunday morning, they're getting a faith foundation. And they're learning all about all the stories and about how much God loves them no matter what, and things they wouldn't get otherwise. I find it real interesting that a lot of the parents now were in church childcare as children. And even though they're not going to church maybe, they still want their children in a church program.
I know that this center has been a good center for a long time, and you have a great reputation in the community. So when was it founded, and what was in the minds of the church when they founded it? Do you know?
It was founded in 2000, and it was an outreach to the community. And this church has a very strong mission focus, and they understand this is still an outreach to the community.
And yet it's a fairly affluent neighborhood, isn't that correct?
In Austin, fairly affluent is not what it used to be. I would say in the last 12 years that I've been here, when I started probably about, I would say 30% of the moms were trying to hold down some sort of part-time job from home. It's now more like 70%. It's really hard to make ends meet on one salary now. And so the parents are using this also as a form of child care, but it's not full-time. So while the parents may be making considerable money, they're stretching sometimes to make ends meet.
So you have a half-day program?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so a lot of churches, when they're considering starting a preschool, the first question is, oh, but won't it be a great drain on the budget?
We actually pay our own expenses. Churches used to not be so concerned about that, but church enrollment and attendance is down all over in all the Protestant denominations that I know of. And they can't afford to pay our bills. So we pay our bills. We're self-sustaining in that. In fact, we put money away for big expenses that might come up down the road. If we need a new roof, if we need new flooring, things like that, we have money put away to help pay for all of that.
And what is your tuition like compared to, say, a corporate center in the same part of town?
It's hard to compare since we're a half-day program, and that's the main thing. It's hard to compare because most of the full-time child cares don't have a half-day option, and most of the for-profit centers do not have half-day options. The half-day centers that are not church-affiliated usually have either some sort of co-oping program with the parents to offset costs, or they are funded through United Way grants and things on that order.
Okay. And so do you pay rent or tithe, or is it just that you have your own budget?
The church figured out how much we use in utilities, and so we pay an average amount each month that covers utilities. We pay for our own janitorial, we pay for our janitorial supplies, we pay for our telephone. I'm trying to think of what else. And we pay a building use fee. So that helps cover
Okay, so it really doesn't cost the church.
It does not cost the church.
Right.
It may cost a little bit in manpower because you get the chair of the trustees up here doing little repair jobs for us, but we're starting to do more about paying somebody to do some of our handiwork also.
Okay. And do you have a separate board?
Yes.
You're a separate 501c3?
No, we have a preschool board that that reports back to our administrative board. We have a finance committee chairperson on there, or finance committee representative on there. We have a representative from the SPRC on that, the Staff Parish Relations Committee. And we have a representative from the trustees on our board.
Okay.
We also have parents on our board.
Okay. Okay, great. And do you do any kind of fundraising?
Yes.
So is it the parents?
The parents
have
do
an
the
event?
fundraising. So they're in charge of the fundraising.
Okay, great. And do you offer some scholarships?
Not at this time. The UMW, United Methodist Women, used to do a scholarship fund for us, but they have not been able to do that in the last few years.
Okay, okay. And what about shared space? I know that's another concern for a church considering this. And so the rooms that you use during the week are Sunday school rooms during Sunday, correct?
In our program here, half of our rooms are also used for either nursery or Sunday school. I've been in places where all of the rooms have been used for Sunday school also, or for nursery or for something like that. We have not had issues here. The only time we have any problem is maybe on a Monday morning we come in and somebody's left a dirty diaper in a diaper pail or something. For shared space, it takes people understanding the importance of both sides and that we have to work together. It's a cooperation thing. So we haven't had any trouble with it.
So is there any advice on how to get to that admirable situation?
I think you have to have great communication with your children's minister, with your church staff, and you've got to have realistic expectations. Because we only have a janitor come in on Tuesday nights and Friday nights. So on Monday morning, whatever's left from Sunday school is there for us to deal with. And our Sunday school teachers know that they need to clean up, and the nursery workers know they need to clean up after themselves. And we also know there may be nursery on a Tuesday night or something like that. So we just know that's what's going to happen, and we just have to clean up after ourselves. And it's been really good. We have one event here that's very popular with the community that our children's minister sponsors. It's a parents' night out, and we know that that's going to have lots of children around, and so we just make sure we lock up anything we're worried about. So cameras, anything like that, they just get locked up so that nobody's things are going to get messed up.
Right, if the community comes in, you
Right.
just are prudent. Okay, good. And what about licensing? Is licensing hard to satisfy? I think that some churches are concerned that they're going to get persecuted. And so has that been your experience?
I've been here 12 years. We have a clean licensing inspection record. I have not had any problems, and our licensing reps work with us. When we had to, we were remodeling this facility, we relocated into a different building of the church during the remodeling. Licensing worked with us on how to make that an acceptable space. They were wonderful to work with. And when we moved back, they were wonderful to work with. I have been in centers where it's been more difficult, but that's been on our end. And I understand churches get worried about liability. Some child gets left on the playground or something like that, they're worried about liability. You have to have good staff and good teachers and a director who keeps an eye on things. But, things can happen and have happened in many, many different centers. Licensing is not the demon in this. The concern is you need to run your center responsibly, and that goes from teachers and assistants on up through director.
So the rules are published, and an experienced director knows what those standards are?
Yes.
Yes.
And the staff know what the standards are. And a good director trains her staff to know how to keep an eye on each child and make sure that each child is watched over and that the place is safe.
So that's the number one thing you would say to reduce liability is to run a safe center.
Yes.
And what would you say about liability insurance?
We pay our own share of the liability insurance too. So it's one of those costs of doing business. So
Okay, and so what do you do for curriculum? Do you have teachers who write their own, or have you purchased a curriculum, or what are your thoughts on that?
My teachers use a variety of sources. We do not use what people call a canned curriculum, a published curriculum. I have got very good teachers who are very skilled. They know their child development, and I feel like a published curriculum in many ways would hamper their creativity and their ability to respond to the individual needs of the children.